Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner, who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael Wold-B-Freer, who's a senior writer at Stat Factor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. This is episode number 252, the Luke Garza episode, as Garza wore number 52 this past season as a member of Bruce's Boston Celtics. Bruce, what do you have to say about your boy Garza?
I think that, he came a long way in his first season with the Celtics. They have a way of kind of helping bigs develop a little bit. They did it with Cada. And even when Luke Cornett was in Boston, he improved quite a bit when he was there. So, we'll see. I mean, I don't know that this guy is going to be a frontline all-star center in the NBA, but he's a nice complimentary piece.
He really is. And quick fun fact here, relevant to our show here, is Luke Garza has played for Joe Doer's Minnesota Pro-Am team. And we're going to have Joe Doer on this show next week to discuss all things NBA draft. And that is Joe Doer of Strictly B-Ball. So looking forward to that, and maybe we'll even talk about that historic Garza appearance, as I think he shattered the single game record for points scored in that one. So more to come on that, but much more right now on the NBA Finals, because boy, did things get spicy in Game 3, and things are pretty interesting now that the Spurs are on the board in the win column. World B. Let's get to our Game 3 recap and reactions. San Antonio walked into Madison Square Garden and came out victorious 115-111. World B, I'll start with you, asking you the hard-hitting question. Did the Spurs cheat in this one? Because somehow your Knicks in 3 prediction fell just short.
Yeah, I'm convinced they cheated. I just really haven't figured out how yet. So, it's been 24 hours. I really can't pinpoint how they did it. But, yeah, obviously they cheated. They came away with the win, the guard in front of the raucous corporate crowd of theirs. So, yeah, it was definitely cheating. I just haven't figured out how.
All right. Well, we had an interesting game, to say the least. Got Chippy some good altercations in this one, Bruce. What were your big takeaways, especially your first impressions of how San Antonio responded after losing their first 2 games at home?
In Game 3, the Spurs played with more desperation, and they really showed the kind of mental toughness that had been lacking in them in the first couple of games of this series. Wemby led the way as always. He always does. And I know he seems like he came down from another planet, but there's something about this nickname that they're going with now with him, the alien. That just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm sorry. I mean, he is a human being with superpowers, but he's still a human being. And I don't think he's an alien. I mean, I know it's all in good fun and everything,
Sure.
but I don't like that nickname at all. And I hope it's not something that sticks forever.
Yeah, I'm personally right there with you, Bruce, because, there were some online photos that leaked prior to Game 3. He was at Central Park with his sister doing some artistic drawings to mentally just escape the stresses and whatever else of the basketball season. And so I like to see the more human element of Wemby, because he is a human being after all. So I'm right there with you. I'm not sure I'm down for the alien nickname to be something that sticks. World B, what was your thoughts on Game 3?
Well, it was a really impressive effort by the Spurs. I mean, think about this. They're down 2-0, losing both games at home. And in the second quarter of Game 3, they absolutely get blown away, give up 42 points. They let a double-digit lead just go before halftime, down by 7. You're down 2-0, down by 7 in somebody else's gym, getting ready to fall behind 3-0, and they completely came out in the second half and dominated the third quarter, something they hadn't done in the first 2 games. They got beat up in the third quarter. So it was really impressive to see them come out for a team that young with that kind of heart and that kind of spirit and really put it to the Knicks and put the pressure on them. And the Knicks could not respond until very late. They had an off shooting night in that second half. But credit to Spurs for really coming out in the third quarter when their season was really on the line right there as I mentioned, down 2-0, down 7 at the half, all the momentum coming the Knicks way, and then they outscore them 35-27 in that third quarter and take control of the game again.
Yeah, and kind of leading that charge, staying cool, calm, collected, even during the most desperate times in a game that they was absolute must win, obviously being down 2-0. Stephon Castle, he really blew me away in this one. His first finals game on the road in Madison Square, 8 of 14 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, but both of those threes that he did hit were big-time ones. I believe he had one big one early on in the first quarter at the end of the shot clock, and then he had one real late in the clutch minutes that really was a dagger delivered to the Knicks there. So really impressed with his play here in Game 3. Bruce, what's your big takeaway from just the overall physicality in this one? And did you think that Mike Brown, our guy, our friend of a show, was right or wrong in his complaints about the officiating during his post-game press conference?
Well, it's a well-known sort of fact that aggressors generally get the calls, and the Spurs were the aggressors for most of the game, especially right out of the gate in the first quarter. And I have no problem with Mike complaining. I mean, look, Pat Riley and Phil Jackson did it all the time, okay? And if it helps him get one additional either-or call at the right time in a future game, that could really affect the outcome, not only of a game, but on the series. As for the, foul discrepancies that he was complaining about, he had to be the most upset with the 4 fouls called on the Knicks in the first 2:42 of the fourth quarter. I think that stunned the Knicks because they didn't score a point in the fourth quarter until the 8:31 mark, and their defenders actually were pretty good during that stretch. They only allowed 6 points in the first 3.5 minutes, but the offense was really kind of stopped cold by the Spurs, and the Spurs were also in the bonus for the final 7:02 of the fourth quarter. And the Knicks, as I think will be mentioned to me prior to us rolling the tape here, they never even sniffed the bonus until it was too late to even take advantage of it because they got in the bonus with like a minute to go, and then there were no more fouls for them to shoot. So I think Mike Brown, again, I don't know if there was any fines involved. I didn't see anything that he was fined. And I was sort of expecting that maybe he would be fined. Now, again, maybe that's going to happen at a later point. I don't think he really cares because if he gets that one either or call as a result of kind of putting this on everybody's radar screen, that'll be $35,000 or whatever it is that is well spent.
Totally. And I think if you go back and look at the most egregious non-call in Game 3, it was, of course, Wemby throwing Jalen Brunson down with the elbow. That one was a real violent one. You already know the refs are going to be focused in on that, and on Wemby. And I'm actually kind of curious if Wemby, I would honestly predict that he might get in some foul trouble in Game 4 because I think they're really going to make an effort to watch him more off the ball after a situation like that one. Worldby, let's hear from you. What were your thoughts on Coach Brown's comments after the game?
Well, I think he has a legitimate gripe. It was 24-8 in free throws in the second half. I mean, there's being aggressive, and there's really missing some calls here somewhere along the way. It didn't cost them the game, the Knicks the game, whatever. Coach Brown has every right to be upset about the discrepancy and calls it 15-10 in fouls, I believe, in the second half for the Knicks, 15 there. But here's the thing. The one thing I'll say about this is it's getting the attention because he complained and said it. But there's people out there that act as if he was somehow more focused on the foul situation than the play of his team. And I guarantee you, even Pat Riley, even Phil Jackson, the minute they get off that podium after they do whatever their whiny rant or whatever you want to call it, the second they step off that podium, that whole rep thing is gone. They're looking at film. They're trying to figure out what's going on, what they adjustments they need to make as a team or whatever. It ended the minute they got off the podium. So he had every right to voice his displeasure. Geez, you get, as I mentioned, as Bruce mentioned, a minute to go in the game in the fourth quarter, and then Knicks get into bonus. How is that possible for that team? Now, so he has a legitimate gripe about that, but it really ended when he stepped off the podium. It wasn't that big a deal. If it gets him more foul, if they call it differently going forward, even the broadcasters are talking about it during the game. at some point they're getting so physical. You're gonna have to start calling some fouls because it's just really it was close to being out, getting out of hand. So yeah, they have to. We'll see how it goes in Game 4 here. Personally, I don't necessarily have a problem with the physicality that the Spurs are providing. It's up to the Knicks to match it, and like they did in Game 1 and Game 2.
To quote the great Rick Pitino, kind of, sort of, Joey Crawford ain't walking through that door. Steve Javie ain't walking through that door. You're going to get.
But Scott Foster could be.
Scott Foster, I would bet anybody $1 Scott Foster's doing the game on Wednesday night.
Tony Brothers, yeah, there's things the NBA can do to assure things will be a little different in Game 4 if they want to.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap up the Mike Brown post-game comments, he did say, in all fairness, during his rant about the refs, he did give credit to the Spurs and said they played great tonight. They played better than us. But, and then he brought up the foul discrepancies, especially in that fourth quarter. So I don't think he was in the wrong for that. And if anything, I think it's good to show your team that you're going to voice your opinion and back them up on the grand stage. And if you take a fine, you take a fine. You're 2 games away from becoming NBA champions in New York City. Definitely worth the cost.
And I totally agree with you, Ross. It's fine to stand up for your team, but like I said, they come in on Wednesday or Tuesday, and the message cannot be about the officiating. It's what do we do now, and that's the only way the Knicks are going to get out of this and try and come away with a win and get up 3-1 in this series. It's put that crap behind you and let's adjust to what the Spurs are doing, or let's figure out what we did wrong. That's the only way it's going to get better.
Yep, and let's go ahead and talk about Game 4 and get to our preview and predictions for this one. And let's go ahead and start with this. Bruce, which team is under more pressure to win? Is it the Spurs going down 3-1 with a loss, or the Knicks who lose home court advantage with a loss?
I don't really think one team or the other has more pressure in this game. I mean, all the pressure in the world is on both teams. It's the NBA Finals now. But here's the thing. For the first time in forever, Mikal Bridges, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Landry Shamet all had bad games in the same game. Now, if that happens again, New York's going to be looking for some answers. And what I think they may end up doing is going with more Jose Alvarado and Jordan Clarkson and less Landry Shamet. When those guys were on the court, the Knicks looked much better than when Shamet was out there. And again, Shamet has been phenomenal in this postseason. But, look, those guys were busting out too. I mean, they were just dying for some playing time, and they came out with lots of energy. So as for the pressure, the Spurs don't really seem all that affected by it. And in many ways, maybe it's just sort of like they don't know what they don't know. So they're kind of acting like they've been there before, which is the proper approach. The Knicks, well, they're still playing with house money. I mean, even if they lose Game 4, it just means that the series is back on serve and will more than likely go 7 games. And if it goes to a Game 7, any team can win. And I mean, in New York, the fans are like, pulling their hair out. But like, did they really think that they were going to sweep 3 straight series? I mean, that would have been pretty unrealistic in my mind.
Yeah, definitely very unrealistic in mine as well. World B, what's your thoughts?
Well, it seems kind of weird to suggest that falling behind 3 games to 1 in a series means you have less pressure on you to win Game 4 or whatever. But I really think the pressure's on the Knicks here because for this great run that they've been on, 13 straight postseason victories, and all this great news that they've had. As Bruce mentioned, you lose that Game 4, it's all even. You've lost the advantage you've had, and now you're lost 2 at home. And now where are your heads at going? Now you got to win another one in San Antonio. You wanted to win 1. You came away with 2. Now you have to win a 3rd game in San Antonio. It's asking an awful lot. So for me personally, I think the Knicks are under a tremendous amount of pressure to win this game and get up 3-1 and really put the screws to a young Spurs team. If the Spurs fall behind 3-1, we've seen them battle back in the playoffs here. They were down 3-2 to the Thunder, the best team in the league, and came back with wins in Game 6 and Game 7. I don't think they'll hit the panic button. They're not going to be happy down 3-1 if that should happen. They're not going to hit the panic button. But as Bruce knows, and you know too, Ross, boy, when things go bad in New York, especially at this time of year, everything is magnified by 1,000. Now all of a sudden now you got to deal with all the questions. Now you got to deal with all this. So it's, after the first 2 games, Jalen Brunson was calm and cool at the podium, answering all the questions that they have nothing to do with the series. He didn't mind. What's going to happen if it's 2-2 and you're not playing? You're not shooting any better than 11 for 25 from the field. So the pressure's on the Knicks in this in Game 4, more so than the Spurs.
I agree with you, Will B. I think the pressure is absolutely on the Knicks in this one. Just given the fact that not only would they lose the home court advantage, but you will have lost 2 straight games, and now the Spurs are rolling, and you have to try to break their winning streak back in San Antonio, where they lost the first 2. If they win both games 3 and 4, they're going to go, okay, we got to finally beat these guys on our own home floor. There's no excuses to do that, and that was kind of the pressure was on the Spurs in Game 3 to make sure they didn't lose 3 straight. Obviously, they passed that test. But boy, if they can win Game 4, tie this up 2-2, put the Knicks back in their building where they lost the first 2, and they're going to be like, we need to give our home fans a win. That's a lot of pressure for the Knicks to have to walk into that Game 5, kind of questioning themselves. And as you said, the New York media is going to follow them. The social media is going to be going crazy, and fans are going to start coming up with, hitting the panic button if this team's going to blow a 2-0 lead in this series. So I'm with you. I think the Knicks certainly have more pressure into Game 4. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they come back and respond in this one. So next question, Bruce, is this. Do you think Jalen Brunson is wearing down from the physicality of the Spurs defense and even offense, I guess?
I said before the series that I felt the key matchup was going to be the Spurs and their waves of perimeter defenders against Brunson. And I predicted that it would wear him down. Now, given all the rest that he's had over the last month, I thought he'd be okay, and he may very well still be okay. But I think we're seeing that effect as more of a game-to-game situation as opposed to, a cumulative toll on Brunson, like body punches in a boxing match that pile up during a long fight. Like in the second half on Monday, he had 4 turnovers, and he shot 11 for 25 for the game, as will be mentioned. But 2 for 7 with 1 assist, 3 turnovers, and 3 personals in that third quarter. Okay. So I saw that third quarter as definitely him kind of struggling a little bit endurance wise. And also too, I mean, look, Cat only took 10 shots. So maybe Jalen needed to unlock Cat and set him up more while shooting less, because his shots weren't falling really at all. And granted, the Spurs defense makes that really difficult as well. Brunson, though, is a tough-minded guy. His motor is so powerful. He's very capable of battling hard and bringing it when the Knicks need him the most. So prior to the season, though, I did say that having a 6'2" guard as your best player hasn't always been a recipe for a championship team. And his size does create some limitations. But look, this dude can still win the Finals MVP if he gets a little bit of help in the next game from Cat and others, because I don't care what anyone else on that team does. If the Knicks win the championship, Jalen Brunson is going to be the Finals MVP.
He really is. And, I mean, we obviously have given a lot of credit to the San Antonio Spurs for winning Game 3. But how about Brunson? He had 2 incredible and 1 finishes on fouls on his drives in this Game 3. I mean, that one, he was shooting with his left hand. Like, I don't know how he even got that to go up over, the basket, and the fact that he swished that, nothing but net, was just quite incredible. I mean, he is an exceptional star, and he has put this team on his back. And despite the resistance of the Spurs defense, he still has found a way to will himself to score the basketball and be efficient for the most part out there. So really impressed with what Brunson's done so far with his leadership in New York as it continues here down this stretch. World B, what's your thoughts on Brunson? Is he wearing down or not?
Well, I don't know if he's wearing down. It's certainly not affecting how many shots he's taking. 81 shots in 3 games. That's ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah.
It's 31, 25, and 25. He's not hitting them now. That's part of the problem. The last 2 games, he's 18 for 30 or 18 for 50. So that's not a good recipe for success there from your best player. So he's got to improve there. It's certainly possible he's wearing down. I mean, it's a good strategy for the Spurs. They're meeting him at full court. They're bodying him up. The refs are letting them body him up. That's fine. You got to battle through it. It hasn't been the longest, as we know, because of their playoff run. It's not like the Knicks have been through the grind this postseason, so they should not be terribly tired. Certainly not by comparison to, say, the Spurs, who have had a real tough 7-game series with the defending champs. So the amount of games that Knicks have played in the last 3 weeks, what have they played? 5, 6, 7 games? I mean, it's ridiculous because of the playoff schedule and the way they've dominated. It should not be wearing on them. It could be. The one thing I will say is, if he's going to do anything, he's got to get Karl-Anthony Towns more involved. I mean, Towns in the first 2 games, 63 touches in game 1, 64 touches in game 2, 45 touches in game 3, and he played 38 minutes, the most minutes he's played in any of the games in this series, and he got 45 touches out of it. They're starting to fall into that trap we saw during the season in the beginning, for 3/4 of the season, when Karl-Anthony Towns, some by his own doing, some by just the way the offense is, was phased out of the picture. He's got to be more assertive. I love to see him driving the ball to the hole against Wemby in those first 2 games. I didn't see that in game 3. And like I said, he got 20 fewer touches than he normally did in the first 2 games. So that's got to improve. So if Brunson has to take a few less shots to get Karl-Anthony Towns some more baskets, the guy shoots over 50% from the field from all over the place, as we've seen. He can put the ball in the basket. He needs the opportunity to do it. Having 10 shots, being tied for 3rd on your team in shots from your all-NBA type player is not going to cut it for this team.
No, it's not at all, and that's a great point there. As far as my opinion on Jalen Brunson, I think he definitely is wearing down, and that's been a focal point of the San Antonio Spurs game plan heading into this series. And more explicitly, we saw it in game 3. Carter Bryant came flying out of the corner as an offensive player, crashing the boards, and he just decked Jalen Brunson onto his behind on that offensive foul call there. I think they're continuing to make their presence felt against Jalen, trying to beat him up here and there when they find their spots to be aggressive and kind of knock them down. And that's going to take its toll with anyone, because as we started out this conversation with Wemby, Jalen Brunson's only human, so you can only take so much of a beating before it starts to take a toll on your body. Not to mention the usage rate that he is performing at here in all 3 of these intense finals games thus far.
Well, by the way,
go ahead, World.
By the way, if Mike Brown's got a complaint about the officiating or whatever, if he wants to really have an impact with his rant, that's where it should go. He should try and clear up make things a little bit easier for, Jalen Brunson going forward in this series. If you want to complain about something, that's an excellent, it's totally fine. If the Spurs can get away with being physical, that's fine. But, the last time the Knicks were in the playoffs, they had a guy, starting point guard, Derek Harper, who they basically outlawed the hand check because of him, because of the way he did. This is going a little bit even further back than that when it comes to the physicality. Again, totally fine, but if you're going to do something like Mike Brown to complain about the officiating, that's where the impact should go. Get those guys off my star, so so we can operate the way we like to see him operate. If you're a Knicks fan,
Sure.
It was pretty obvious that they were going to try and treat Jalen Brunson like the head of the snake. I mean, he's the brains of the offense. He makes everything else work. And by really trying to I don't want to say punish him, but just make it more difficult on him, that has such a ripple effect on everything else. That's why Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't getting as many, touches, because Jalen Brunson was getting, a lot of resistance. And when the shot clock goes down and the ball's in Jalen Brunson's hands, he's going to try and get something up on the rim. And that's to the detriment of Cat.
Yep. Now, last question here, as far as players are concerned, who do you guys think has been the best player for each team thus far here in the NBA Finals? Bruce, why don't you lead us off?
It's always going to be Wemby for the Spurs. But as you mentioned earlier, Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, they bring energy, toughness, and talent. Castle plays like a savvy veteran, not a 21-year-old. Look at his body language out there. He is a freaking man, okay? Same with Harper. He's a 20-year-old rookie. And look, for a 20-year-old rookie, he was 0 for 5 in the fourth quarter, but you know what? He grabbed 5 rebounds, and he was a physical presence despite not scoring, and that was really important now. As for the Knicks, they always get the numbers from Brunson, but OG Anunoby and Josh Hart have provided the special sauce with great two-way play and mad energy. Cat has been that guy as well, but while the other two were Game 3 stars, Cat was marginalized, as we've already discussed. OG and Josh always show up, and if Cat joins them, New York should find a way to win Game 4.
Yeah, I like those picks there, Bruce. World D, who are your 2 players that you have circled?
Well, obviously, as Bruce mentioned, it's absolutely Wemby. He's gotten better. He had a disappointing Game 1, and he's been excellent since then. We focused too much on the unfortunate pass he made at the end of Game 2 that set the Knicks up for the game-winning free throw by Brunson, and that falls on him. But it was otherwise he's been excellent the last 2 games. He was a star in Game 3. 6 turnovers in Game 1, 5 the last 2 games combined. So he's really kept it together in that regard. Dominated in the paint. We talked about before we went on the air. He has to dominate in the paint for this team to really be successful. Half of his points, 75% of his points in Game 3 came either in the paint or on the free throw line. That's makes the Spurs really tough to beat when he does things like that. And for the Knicks, they've done it so many different ways. It's not Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has not been the best player for the Knicks in this final series so far. He's had the most attention. He's taken the most shots, as I mentioned, but he hasn't been the best player. I think OG Anunoby has been their best player so far. Karl-Anthony Towns, I still think, is going to be the biggest reason that they win this series. If he plays like he did in the first 2 games, I want to see him drive to the hoop. He just didn't get the touches, as I mentioned, in Game 3. 45, that's just not going to cut it for a star player like him. So he gets the ball again, starts to do the things we saw him do in Game 1 and 2. He'll take that title as best player because he's the most important player, I think, on this team. Look, Brunson's shooting terribly, and they're up 2-1. Could be 3-zip with they don't blow us nice lead at halftime. So they've gotten by without Brunson being a great shooter. He's been a great shooter in the biggest moments, that's for sure. But for me, OG Anunoby has been outstanding. His shooting has been great. His defense has been great. It's been like that the whole postseason, really. He's been healthy, and he's been the difference maker when he's been able to be healthy. And they are on a historic run in large part because of his aggressiveness in the postseason.
Yeah, I agree with you both when it comes to the Knicks player. It's OG Anunoby for me as well. I've just been flat out impressed with his offensive contributions throughout this series. A couple plays in particular that really stood out for me. Number one, hitting that 3 in transition that led to that San Antonio timeout was a gigantic one. You knew if he hit that, the roof was going to come off the Garden. It sure did during that pivotal moment. And I think I was teasing with you guys earlier in the game, asking, is that Kawhi Leonard or OG Anunoby? Because there were at times he was putting together some offensive moves where I'm like, that's like Kawhi-like, and like just not something I expected to see from OG on the biggest and brightest stage in the NBA Finals. But he has been a force to be reckoned with offensively throughout this series, been very aggressive. He shot at least 14 shots in each of the 3 games thus far, and I've been very impressed with what he's brought into the table for the Knicks thus far. Now, as for the Spurs, before I get to my pick, who it's not going to be much of a shocker, Bruce, you had talked about the rookie Dylan Harper and his impressive play, and you mentioned the fact that he was 0 of 5 in Game 3's fourth quarter. The one thing I really liked about it, he was not scared to keep taking the shots. If he was open and it was the right play for him to shoot, he never lost confidence. He was still letting that thing fly smoothly, and that's big. I mean, for talent evaluators, scouts out there, the fact that this kid, he missed his first couple of shots. He stayed after it and took the shots that were there. That's huge, because I think in the long run of this series, that's going to pay off, and it surely shows that he has no fear. He has all the confidence in the world in his abilities, and he feels like he belongs out there. And obviously, the coaching staff in San Antonio feels the same. But as far as the best player thus far for me, outside of Wemby, it's Stephon Castle. I mean, at this point, am I crazy to think down the stretch of games, I trust him just as much, if probably not more, than De'Aaron Fox at this point? I mean, I think I'm at that point where I trust Castle just as much as Fox, who's a seasoned vet, all-star in this league on a max contract. And here I am picking the 21-year-old in the NBA Finals. I think Castle has earned that right to have the ball in his hands, be trusted in big spots. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Fox and his play, especially having that big mid-range jumper in the closing minutes of the game, which was huge for the Spurs Game 3 victory. But what Castle has done as a two-way player for this team has really opened up so much. And it's the reason they find themselves in the finals, and a reason that they were able to overcome the Oklahoma City Thunder in the West.
Castle has like titanium balls. I mean, He just does, and like I said in my first comment about him, look at his body language out there. He's a 21-year-old guy. He looks like, the way he carries himself and the way he stays aggressive. I mean, that's really so impressive. And again, I think that's sort of reflective of not only the Spurs culture, but the UConn culture that he came from too, playing for Dan Hurley, winning a national championship when he was a freshman as a key guy on the team. I mean, some guys are just winners. And, I think we can put that label on Stephon Castle.
Yeah, and you nailed it too, because last year he was your Rookie of the Year pick, and you've been on him since day one. So nice scouting job by you there, Bruce.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah. And lastly here, to kind of wind down tonight's show, we do have some unfortunate news to discuss, and that is...
Oh, wait. Aren't we going to do our game 4 predictions?
Oh, goodness. I almost forgot predictions. Thank goodness you saved me there, Bruce. Let's get to our predictions. And you know what? Let's spice it up a little bit more. Let's go ahead and also see if anyone wants to change their finals winner predictions. Are you changing who wins and then how many games? Let's do that too. So go ahead, Bruce. Start us off.
Well, my pre-series prediction was Spurs in 7. Okay, I felt that having Game 5 and 7 at home was going to, be the difference. Well, I'm not so sure I still agree with that part of the prediction, but I'm going with the Spurs in Game 4. I mean, look, if they come out of the gate like they did in Game 3, their confidence is just going to grow and grow. And I think there's a part of that team that's basically saying, New York fans, you brought the kitchen sink against us. All the celebrities, all the noise, all the New York hype, whatever. And they're like, okay, we still have Victor Wembanyama, and we still have Stephon Castle, and, we're not afraid. And I think, I think we're going to kind of know in the first 5 minutes of the game on Wednesday night if that's going to be the case. I'm not saying they can't win a back and forth game, but I think the way they come out of the gate, they'll win the opening tip like they did, get a bucket on their first possession, play some defense, keep your foot on the gas. I really feel like the Spurs are going to win Game 4, and I'm still sticking with Spurs in 7.
All right, World B.
Well, I guess the Knicks in 3 predictions really shot to hell there.
You were so close on that one.
I really felt like it was going to happen this time. Unprecedented. I said, last week, Knicks in 6. It'll probably still be that way. I feel like the 2 wins in San Antonio really are a major victory for the Knicks' chances to win this series. They did not have a good game 3, as we saw. The funny thing about this series, and guys, tell me if I'm wrong, each team can make a legitimate claim. Hey, we could be up 3-0. We should be up 3-0.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams. You look at it from the Spurs blowing double-digit lead after double-digit lead in this series each game, and the Knicks were up 7 at the half, already up 2-0. They were looking at 3-0 in the face. So, it's really an interesting series. I do think the Knicks will bounce back. This is where, hey, Mike Brown, this is why you're here. Make an adjustment. This is what you got to do. Figure out what went wrong and improve on it in Game 4. Come out with a plan. I think they're going to win Game 4. They'll go out to San Antonio, and San Antonio will keep it alive, and we'll come back to the Garden for Game 6, and it'll be a raucous corporate crowd, as raucous as the corporate crowd can be, and they'll pull it off and raise the banner next October, along with the NBA Cup banner.
That's right.
Yes.
A 2-banner year.
It's a banner season for this team.
Hey, we still got Summer League World B. You could go for the triple crown of banners in the NBA.
Don't tease me like that, guys.
Okay. Well, as for my prediction here to round things out, I had the Spurs in 6 originally. Obviously, I wasn't anticipating the Knicks walking into San Antonio and winning both of the first 2 games. I'm going to go Spurs in 7 now. The Knicks have, extended this series to a 7th game. I still think the Spurs will find a way to win that one, holding home court advantage. And as for Game 4, I've got the Spurs winning Game 4 and putting the pressure on New York in Game 5. So I think Spurs win Game 4 and return the favor of sweeping the Games 3 and 4 on the road on the Knicks. And then I think I have the Spurs winning 3 straight. I have them winning Game 5. And then I think the Knicks will win Game 6 and then lose in 7 to San Antonio.
I never liked any of you guys, just so you know.
Hey.
What a series that would be if it rolls out like that. Oh, my God. It'll go down as one of the most memorable NBA finals in many, 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 many years.
The only thing that I could think is worse, and I'm not taking a shot at New York and their fans, but it is something that has crossed my mind. What if the Knicks make the finals and never win a home game? So it's like the Knicks fans got to attend finals games, but they never saw a win. Like,
does the banner still get to go up though? Is that okay? Is there a little asterisk underneath or something?
No.
As long as the banner goes up, I don't care. Win 4 in San Antonio. If you can pull it off, that's fine with me.
Totally.
Maybe if they win 4 in San Antonio, the Knicks banner will go up in San Antonio.
There you go. It's going to be up somewhere. We know that.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
So a lot of fun still yet in store in this series. Now, last but certainly not least, we do have some sad news to share as the basketball world got some shocking news over the weekend as 3-time NBA champion and current Bulls broadcaster Stacey King passed away at the young age of 59. World B, I know you shared with Bruce and I that you were fortunate enough to work alongside Stacey at one of your other jobs. So I was hoping you could share a little bit more about your time working with him and what kind of memories do you have of Stacey?
Well, Stacey used to come to, when I worked at the ESPN studios in Charlotte, Stacey would make appearances as an analyst on occasion in our studio in Charlotte. And I, as a Knicks fan and no one being a basketball fan, when Stacey came in, I knew who he was immediately. I knew him from his days at Oklahoma. He was an All-American. I knew him from the time with the Bulls when he, helped win 3 titles in a row for them as a player off the bench. But, all those battles they had with the Knicks. So once he realized I was a Knicks fan, it was a lot of fun talking with him or whatever. As a researcher, you get to know the guys who are in front of the camera. Bruce knows we call them talent or whatever for lack of a better phrase, but you get to know the on-air personalities or whatever. So you get in good touch, you communicate with them. Stacey was about as good a guy as you would ever want to meet. Absolutely fun-loving. I think he took his job seriously. I don't think he took himself seriously. And he wanted notes whenever he came around during the NBA draft time, because we did a lot of conversation about NBA players, and we incorporate that into the pro game. And he was a good person to have to bridge that. And he liked certain notes or research notes that I would come up with. And eventually it got to the point over the years. I used to have a binder. I feel bad I don't have it any longer since I've departed ESPN. But I used to have a binder, and it had Stacey King on it. Stacey King's notes. It was his binder. Yeah. It was, he had notes about whatever else, but Stacey liked his notes. I had a specific binder for him. We had a great time when he was in the studio, and it's a real big loss for the NBA community. And you really felt that this week with some of the stories and some of the people have talked about. He was a really beloved announcer for the Chicago Bulls. I had no idea. I knew he was an announcer for them, but I didn't realize the impact, how enjoyable he was for people in Chicago to listen to. They absolutely loved him as an announcer, and it's a real big loss for everybody in the NBA community.
Bruce, any thoughts on Stacey King?
Yeah. I never had a chance to meet Stacey King, but he did help the Bulls win their first 3 championships. Now, he wasn't a star on that team. He was a role player. But guess what? With teammates like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, everyone else on that team was a role player too. Now, as you've both mentioned, he later became a longtime broadcaster for the team, and he touched many fans with his kindness and support of the Bulls. He was only 59 years old. And he's one of the many NBA big guys who have died before their time. One of his teammates on the Bulls, Jack Haley, died a few years ago. He was only 51. Moses Malone was around 60 when he died. And, there were others. Darryl Dawkins died young. A lot of these guys. And, it's a shame that so many of these big guys died before their time. And, of course, Stacey King being one. He will be missed by everyone in Bulls Nation, as well as the rest of the basketball family. Rest in power, Stacey King.
Yep, well said there, Bruce. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Stacey's family and friends, and of course, former colleagues and teammates as well. And Bulls games just won't sound the same without Stacey. That's how I remember him most. He made a lot of Bulls games exciting, even when the team wasn't that exciting on paper. He made the games energetic, fun, and always was a good listen. So it's going to be tough at the start of next season to try to replace that voice, because it's irreplaceable. And he'll be a Chicago Bulls legend forever for his contributions to the team on and off the court. So rest in peace, Stacey King. And with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Take care, everybody.